come in on our warning, and I know it's a busy map. I'm going to turn some layers off for you. So here's a look at our tornado warning, and it is for that cell that's right up around False River right now, moving into St. Francisville. So this is parts of Point Coupee, West Feliciana, and East Feliciana along the leading edge of that Bow Echo. A tornado warning now in effect. So if you're in St. Francisville, over towards, say, Norwood, Clinton, near north of Slaughter, watch out. You need to be getting to your safe room, your shelter right now, because there could potentially be a tornado within this one. Let's switch over to the radar velocity. So here's what we're looking at. There's the leading edge of our Bow Echo. We see evidence of something up here, farther up north, but you also got a bit of a notch showing up right around St. Francisville. So that appears to be what the National Weather Service is honing in on. That is moving to the east. Let me get a look at what they've got forward motion on that to get a better idea of maybe the timing for you. So that tornado warning, bear with me for just a second. Let's see. It is moving off, moving east at 75 miles per hour. Okay, so let me adjust the settings here on our storm track. I've got to put in 75 miles per hour before I put the track on to give you an accurate timing on the reading, but need to be taking shelter right now from St. Francisville east to Clinton with a potential tornado in the cell. So there's our storm track now. So that brings it into Jackson within the next 10 minutes, Clinton around 8:30, and then if it holds together, eventually into St. Helena Parish, Greensburg. You guys are not under a warning with the cell as it stands right now, but we are going to have to track that closely. So we did get an updated velocity view, and you see this notch that's kind of showing up. That would be the area of rotation moving just about on top of St. Francisville. We do see evidence of another notch showing up a little bit south of St. Francisville. That would be probably pretty close to New Roads as well. So anywhere from New Roads to St. Francisville, watch out as that cluster moves eastward. At minimum, expecting some strong, damaging winds within all of that. That has certainly been the case with these storms as they move through areas off to our west. All right, so let's give you a look. Again, there's our tornado warning in effect until 8:30 as that line moves out. Let me broaden the view, give you a better perspective on all of this, and we'll animate this so you can see how things are moving too. Widen that out a little more. Sorry, guys. Hang with me. So as we widen this out a little more, there's that Boeing line, a segment that is now approaching Baton Rouge and areas near and north of Baton Rouge into the Florida parishes. That's the greatest threat potential right now from this Boeing line. We also have that tornado warning, but really all along this line, all the way down to the coast, the potential of damaging winds. We do have other warnings near and west of New Orleans at this hour. So very active. Let's bring in closer, take a look at some of those warnings too that we've got. So it looks like we've got a severe thunderstorm warning in parts of St. James, St. John the Baptist, a little bit of ascension into Livingston parishes. So we're tracking storms, and let's declutter this a little bit. Let's turn this to one radar site, make this a little better view. So right now, those storms between Thibodaux and Convent lifting up to the north, and boy, that looks kind of interesting near and north of Thibodaux, that notch, that appendage. So let's take a look at the velocity data on that and see what radar is showing us. And I'm going to switch radars here. Okay, so yeah, certainly some rotation showing up here too. So that's crossing right across the parish line from Lafourche into St. James right now, south of Convent. This is right now a severe thunderstorm warning, not a tornado warning, but given what we're seeing there, at least some rotation and that notch that I was seeing in the more traditional, what we call the reflectivity view, we need to be ready for the potential of a tornado. This one could produce a tornado at any time as it lifts up to the northeast. Looks like that may pass a little bit east of Convent and maybe west of Laplace, but we're going to have to track that one closely. We also are seeing some stronger storms down around New Orleans. All right, let's switch back to the traditional radar view now and see what we've got in the big scheme of things. So again, and let me turn off that warning box for a second so we can get a better look at this Bow Echo. So it is right here along this line of storms now that's just west of Port Allen, up through Irwinville, right across False River, St. Francisville, bending back towards Angola. That line has the damaging wind potential, so that is roughly Baton Rouge northward, especially right along the apex of that bow. That's where you would expect the strong. So we've got strong winds punching in from the backside right there. So that's where you would expect the strongest winds right now, especially northern parts of EBR, West Feliciana, East Feliciana. That's the greatest risk. We do have that tornado warning as well. That cell is crossing 61 right now in St. Francisville at this hour. So we also, within this line, not only have that significant damaging wind potential, but that potential for maybe a tornado or two. You can really see the bow here. All right, that's our velocity view, the radar velocity, and that gives you a good indication of where the strong winds are. Let me do one other thing here, and then I'll toss it over to Jared if he's ready. But I did want to pull up the storm reports just to show you what's been happening out to our west. Give me a second to find. Here we go. So as we pull this out to the west, the reports are still rolling in, but you can see hail. There's our wind damage in St. Landry, possible tornadoes around Lake Charles, wind damage along the state line as well. Very active morning. If you're anywhere from Baton Rouge northward, hunker down. Not a bad idea to get into a safe room until this line passes. Jared?
Thank you so much for that, Dr. C. Yeah, we're still keeping a very close eye on both Eastern Feliciana, West Fell, also Point Capee, and that's tornado warnings in effect from right now until 8:30 in the morning. Lightning tracker up. We've seen thousands of strikes just in this area, and at the velocity, as Dr. Steve was just telling you, in between St. Francisville, back on over to places like Zachary and Slaughter, you can see the outer makings of that bow echo, where we're really seeing those winds gust over 60 miles per hour. We'll have an update momentarily on what that's doing as far as power is concerned. But it's not just that. Even one of our minimal threats, which was actually hail, we're already seeing areas of 1-inch diameter hail. What you see right here, it looks like a little bit of clouds, a little bit of gray. That's actually our hail tracker in between Melville going to St. Francisville. If you're in Livonia, right around 190, then down to I-10 over the Atchafalaya Basin, in between places like Gross Tate, and then just on the west side of Baton Rouge, as this bow echo is really starting to bow out even more. But as it does so, it puts on a little bit more speed. Kind of a good news, bad news scenario. Bad news because that's going to make the winds gust even higher. Good news because maybe the flooding won't be that bad and everything will actually move out relatively quickly. So right now, I would say Gross Tate, and let's go ahead and get a little bit closer to that area on our radar. Rosedale to Livonia, definitely under the gun. If you don't need to be outside, I would say definitely stay indoors. Baton Rouge right now, I can hear a quick thunderstorm overhead right now. And you know what? We're looking live, actually. Thank you for that. That's a live shot over in New Roads. I'm actually not surprised by that because our Doppler just indicated not only strong winds over there, but also that's where the tornado warning is. So no doubt, if you live anywhere near that area in New Roads, you probably had your phone start chirping and making that loud noise. That was for the emergency update. And you are looking live off our Titan 9 as we pan around the New Roads area. You know, this is exactly what Dr. Steve was talking about. We've been concerned about this for a while. It actually goes all the way back. Remember last summer we were really in that drought? Well, in some cases, the drought kind of weakened up the trees a little bit. And then over the past couple of severe weather events that we've had, 40 mile an hour, 50 mile per hour winds, doesn't sound that bad, but it loosens up the trees a little more and a little bit more. Not only is this a concern for this morning, and I bet you as we move through the morning, you're going to see more pictures just like this. That's why we're asking you very, very much so, stay off the roads if you don't need to be on them. Hunker down in your home. Stay until this area completely clears out. And I'm sure we're going to see more of that. We're actually even concerned for the upcoming hurricane season because there are a lot of weakened trees. Now, you can see, once again, Rosedale over to Baton Rouge. I want to go ahead, as you look at that, and put our tracker, our storm tracker up to see if it's still saying the same thing for Baton Rouge. It's sped up a little bit. Now our storm tracker has Lynch at 828, Choctaw at 835, Addis around 840, LSU's campus at about 848, and then it says 852 for the downtown Baton Rouge area. And again, that's for that bow echo that we're seeing. And when you throw the lightning in there, you see this really is a very powerful storm causing very strong winds, 1-inch diameter hail. Not too bad so far as flooding is concerned. And like I said, the good news the forward speed behind the storm, it's not really lingering. So behind it, we're starting to see a little bit of a clearing there. That's going to help things out. Also throughout the morning, we've been showing this tornado potential strength graphic, and anywhere where you see red, that means you have that potential there, not only for a possible tornado or rotation, but a possible strong one at EF2 or even bigger than that. This is going out forward at about 9:30 in the morning. So in about 1 hour from now, this is what the computer model thinks. So it thinks that that potential for tornadic activity is definitely still there, and it's going to be there until this whole bow echo moves away. When will that happen? Well, right now, the computer thinks by about 11:30, 12, it should be getting past the Baton Rouge area. That doesn't mean the threat ends for our viewing area. That means it actually just starts to get going for places to the east like Hammond, back on down to Laplace, back over to New Orleans. Again, damaging winds and tornadoes, the two primary concerns. Hail and flooding, less of a concern, but we have already seen reports of damaging hail out there and the 15% chance for tornadic activity. Again, WAFB.com/WAFB apps to download our WAFB app. And we also remind you again, if you do see a tornado warning pop up in your area, we'll inform you. Of course, your phone is going to inform you too. And what you want to do, as soon as you hear that go off, you want to make sure that you seek shelter, first floor of your home, interior room or closet, something that doesn't have windows, and something that is a little bit safer. Stand by. What was that you were saying to me in my ear? Yeah, so now they're starting to block off the street that you see there over in New Roads. We'll bring it back to Dr. Steve. Dr. Steve, if you're ready for him.
Yeah, thank you, Jared. I think that was along LA1 between New Roads and Morganza, our Type 9 out there tracking the severe weather that's rolling through the area. As a reminder, not far from there, we do have a tornado warning that's in effect through 8:30 this morning. That extends from St. Francisville to near Clinton. Nothing confirmed out of this. I just double-checked that with the National Weather Service. There was a little bit of an error in what went out in their warning that implied that there might be something on the ground. Nothing confirmed from it, but this is partially also to warn of what could be significantly damaging winds, especially in this general area from St. Francisville up to Clinton. So you can see this bow echo that is moving into the metro area. Let's switch over to the velocity view and give you a look at where the strongest winds are right now. And what you'll see is right along that leading edge. Here it is. That is our area of greatest concern. So right now, right along the, we lost that scan. It should come back. But again, right along the border, east and west Feliciana parishes, now extending in the northwestern parts of EBR. Let me see if I can switch radars until that comes back. No, here it comes. Well, it's kind of partially filling in. So we'll switch, see if we can get another radar view on that. Boy, none of these have a great view right now as we kind of lost some of our data. But let's go back to traditional radar. That bow echo is had a history of producing damaging winds along its path. Now, let me expand this view out just a little bit quickly here. I think in Baton Rouge proper, it's going to be a close call on whether we get in on those significantly damaging winds or whether they stay just a little bit north of the city. High confidence in damaging winds up in this area from near Baker up to west of Clinton and extending just across the state line to just south of Woodville, just southwest of Centerville. High confidence that we probably have some damaging winds in that part of the line. Down farther south, they may not be quite as strong because where you see that bowing out, that's where the strongest would be expected, but still could very well be some very strong and potentially damaging winds right now with the line that extends near and east of Gross Tate up through Irwinville and is moving into Baton Rouge. That's going to be into the city here within probably about the next 20 minutes, and we'll just widen the view out one more time, give you a look at the bigger picture on this. And let me turn off a couple of radars to kind of clean it up for you, show you what is happening. You can see this line does extend all the way down to the coast, not as intense farther south, but from Metro Baton Rouge northward, still a very intense bow echo showing up at this hour. Let's reset on the warnings quickly, and you guys in the back tell me if we need to go. So let me run through the warnings because we have got a bunch right now. Not only do we have that tornado warning in effect through 8:30 for West and East Feliciana, we've got severe thunderstorm warnings for much of Metro Baton Rouge, East and West Baton Rouge, the Felicianas, Point Coupee, and northern parts of Iberville Parish. Let's see if that'll pop up and try it again. give you a look at the warning time. So that one's in effect through 8:45 for the Baton Rouge area. Probably going to see some extensions on some of these. Right now it's coming up on 8:25. We've got a warning in Ascension, St. James, St. John the Baptist, Livingston. That one is also through 8:45. Farther south, we've got a big warning from parts of Vermilion, Lafayette, St. Martin, Iberia, St. Mary Parish, all of St. Mary Parish, and that warning, that severe thunderstorm warning, that one is in effect through 8:45 as well. So most of the warnings you see on the board right now through 8:45, the tornado warning in effect through 8:30, and a reminder, tornado watch in effect through 1 o'clock this afternoon. All right, you guys ready to take it? All right, let's go back to the desk.
Steve, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. So he was talking about where the storm is and in relation to the power outages. This is from our friends at poweroutage.us, and you can clearly see the path of the storm already impacting the northwest earlier this morning, southwest as the storm line began to move as well, coming into our area. Now, where are we now? Almost 140,000?
Looks like it all across the state of Louisiana. Kirsten, if you can hover over that red parish, I believe that's St. Landry right there where we're tracking about 30,000, just over customers there out with power. As that line of storms continues to move into our viewing area, we're seeing some of the lights dimmer here a little bit, but no worry, we're going to get through this with you. We also have a live look here. If we can get out to along the Mississippi River levee, we have a crew out at the Bella Baton Rouge, the parking garage there, where we just wanted to get you a check of what Baton Rouge looks like at this hour here. And again, we're working on getting you that shot as we continue to have eyes all over. We checked in with Gabriela Mercurio there in Pointe-Coupee Parish. Here is that look right there from the Bella Baton Rouge parking garage.
A good spot to be. Our crew protected for the most part up in that particular area, but it also gives you viewers at home who are hopefully staying with us a view of that line of storms coming at us from the west. You can clearly see that. You can look at this line of clouds coming in here as that gigantic bow echo that Steve and Jared have been talking about approaches the Baton Rouge area. Now, here's the thing. We're seeing a little bit of traffic. I'm seeing like 1, 2, 3, 4 cars out there on the bridge. Hopefully, you don't have to get out there on the drive. Actually, Johnny Asian has his eyes on the drive for us. He's a good one to ask.
Johnny, what are you seeing here at this hour?
Here in the immediate Baton Rouge area, traffic's actually very, very light as the folks are heeding the warning, and that's good news. Going to take you out to the North Shore, right down to I-55, down toward Laplace. A lot of slow traffic in and around that area because of thunderstorm activity. Right now, you can definitely see that. I did recheck with Causeway Police moments ago. Full restrictions on the Pontchartrain Causeway, north and south between Metairie and the North Shore. No glass trucks are allowed on the causeway. They're prohibiting motorcycles as well, and no RVs. Can take you out with our map and come back toward the Baton Rouge area. So right here in the center, this is Baton Rouge, Livonia, Crotch Springs, Grosse Tate, Rosedale, Maringouin. We were talking about Maringouin just a few minutes ago. We're definitely seeing some slower traffic in that area. This is I-10 at Rama. We have on again, off again camera services in these areas. We've definitely lost our camera, temporarily lost it in Irwinville and in Livonia. And I'm seeing some little, looks like, Steve, maybe hail bouncing off the camera pole on occasion here. I'm also seeing folks use this is Baton Rouge. This is LA 415 at I-10 facing Rama, facing Maringouin. We're definitely seeing slower traffic in that area and definitely the rain shower activity. Now, what I'm seeing is some flashing lights. Flashing lights are prohibited except authorized emergency vehicles, school buses, or any vehicle as a means of indicating a right turn or a left turn. So if you are driving, do not turn your hazard lights off. Reserve that for parked vehicles only, and we definitely have seen some of the flashing lights because you kind of want to put the lights on and think you're doing the right thing, but no flashing lights if you're actually moving, only if you pull off to the right shoulder and put the flashing lights on there. So do be aware of that as we make our way from around the area, and definitely slow it down if you are having to get out and about, but if you don't, they're telling me to tell you to stay off of the roadways. Matt, Liz?
Yeah, for good reason, right? And you may have got, Liz, between us, we got 4 phones up here.
Yeah.
And about half an hour ago, they all went off. National Weather Service making sure they sent out an alert because of what they believe they are seeing right now. They sent out a warning. The word used was catastrophic. Now, the reason they used that is because the wind's tied to this particular storm blowing through here. And to Steve and Jared's point, don't wait for a tornado warning to be in your area to find that safe spot. Maybe know where that is right now, absolutely know where it is right now, and maybe just, you know what, hang out for a little bit as this entire system moves through because the system itself is moving at such a quick speed.
Better safe than sorry.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
as you watch our coverage here on your phone and on your devices, go ahead and get into that spot now. Just so we
there
make
you
it
see
through
it.
this together here. Again, this alert from the National Weather Service there. That is their choice of words here. Potentially catastrophic wind damage. They're asking you to take shelter away from windows. Jared was going through that checklist of things that you need to make sure, possibly and ideally in an interior bathroom without any windows. You think about a pantry right deep in your kitchen, you might think that's safe. Well, there's a lot of debris in there that could potentially fly around. So a bathroom is going to be a good safe spot there. And again, don't wait till that gets to you. Don't wait until you hear or see something around you, because we're already seeing some reports of things around our area. In fact, Star Golson sending us this photo from Gross State and Iberville Parish. If we have that photo to show folks, we are seeing that pea-sized hail sending into 9reports.com. And again, this is some of the things that Jared saw on his way in from the Lafayette area. He was talking about how some of those drivers were seeking refuge under the Atchafalaya Basin Bridge, trying to stay away from that, because Matt, time and time again, you see that damage and you don't want to wait until you hear something. It's too late by then.
At that point,
you already want it to be in a safe spot so you don't anticipate any of that damage, and it's out of harm's way, and you and your family, of course, are safe.
Some of the stuff, according to the numbers that have been thrown out there, could be as big as an inch in size, this hail damage, possible the hail size. We want to get out to our Chris Rosato right now. Are we looking right now? It looks like I'm looking at the kid and maybe the paperclip along the levee. Our Chris Rosato live at the Bell of Baton Rouge. Chris, first of all, safe. You guys are safe, but man, that's a lot going on right now.
Hey, you guys, I don't know if you can hear me, but yeah, literally just probably about 20 seconds ago, none of what you're seeing right here was happening, and out of nowhere, the grid just really kicked up, in case you can't see, and I mean, you can't even see probably 100 yards past where I am right now. I can't see any of the buildings in downtown. I can barely see the Mississippi River Bridge, but I mean, the winds are really kicking up right now. You can really get a sense of what they were talking about heeding those strong wind warnings, making sure you're not near any windows or anything like that. But I would expect it to get a little bit stronger than what we're seeing right now. I mean, I'm already completely drenched, guys. I'm sending it back to you.
Yeah, Chris, you guys make sure that you guys are behind a strong wall right now. You guys look, it's one thing to be able to tell the story so folks know what's going on. We don't want to put anybody in danger, certainly our crew as well. You can tell, but Chris literally trying to lean into this wind.
Bracing himself.
And look, man, if this thing is coming at you at 70 miles an hour, these kinds of gusts, you're not going to be able to stand into that wind. Liz, this has the feel of a hurricane.
It certainly does. Months before hurricane season actually kicks off here. Chris, thank you for that. Please be safe and work to get to a safe spot there. So that catastrophic wind that we're talking about here, you saw some of that, and you don't visualize that until you see a live picture where you're seeing some of that wind move through. Chris, again, a sturdy person trying to make sure that he's not blown away there, but you saw that in the background. He said he wasn't able to see the Mississippi River Bridge or any of the buildings in downtown Baton Rouge. Mind you, Matt, that's how quick this wind picture changes here in the last 10 minutes when we gave you that live look. We also want to get you a check here of Point Coupee Parish, where Brandon Shackelford and Gabriella Mercurio have been driving around here. They ran into some debris, fallen trees in the area, and we want to get you a live look there. You can see as they make their way, they were just on LA1 just about 10 minutes ago.
Look at the difference. Look at the trees.
Yeah.
Look at the trees right now. Do you see any difference? They're not whipping, they're not blowing around, they're not whipping around.
Exactly.
That line that passed through was passing at such speed that it got through there that quickly, right? So that's the good news. The bad news is trees down and damage possibly happening. What we're seeing right now, what we're hearing right now in Baton Rouge, this storm from New Roads into Baton Rouge, we're hearing the rain on top of us in the studios right now, and you're seeing the difference in New Roads. Look, nobody's in the clear quite yet, obviously, but Gabby, can you speak to the point? Look, it wasn't that long ago. It was, I mean, literally sheets of rain whipping by your lens and your windshield. Is there any difference right now in New Roads? Are you seeing it?
It is a huge difference, Matt, than from what we showed you just a few minutes earlier. I'll take you outside and show you what we're looking at. There's a lot of wind and rain, but not as much as it was earlier. Like you guys said, that wind is pushing everything through so fast, and that's probably why you're seeing it over where Chris is. We actually had to turn back around because there were too many trees down, too much debris. We couldn't get through anymore, and it looks like we're having another traffic issue up here. It's kind of hard to see right now. We're a little bit further back, but you can definitely see those law enforcement lights on the road further down. to me, I would think that there's another tree down or some more power lines. That's kind of what the picture looked like for us before when we were between New Roads and Morganza, so I'm assuming that's what's happening right now. You can kind of see some of the power trucks over there, so again, you can see some debris. I'm thinking that there's a tree down and a power line. If you're on the roads right now, please try and get off, and if you see a down power line, do not go near it. They could still be hot, so that's very dangerous. But yes, like you guys said, the picture's a lot different here. We can see a little better. It's not as bad, but like you said, those strong winds are pushing everything the other way. We are back in New Roads. We're moving back the other way because traffic wouldn't let us go that way. Seems like we're stuck here for right now, but we'll definitely continue to keep you guys updated.
Gabby, thank you for getting us live look there. New roads along LA1. So we're seeing this picture move, and we hear it here above the Channel 9 studios in Baton Rouge. And that's where we last checked in with Chris Rosado. But we want to check in with our meteorologist tracking the storm. And Jared, I believe you have an update now to that forecast?
Yeah, absolutely. We are under the gun. This is actually the Bow Echo going right into the doorstep of Baton Rouge as we speak. Now, if I could have some good news here, the tornado warning that we did have in Eastville and West Feliciana and Point Capee, those have been allowed to expire, still under a severe thunderstorm warning over there. But as of right now, it looks like the National Weather Service has taken away the tornado warnings within our viewing area. However, this is it. We're under the gun right now, especially if you're on the west side of Baton Rouge, not only the lightning tracker, but the hail. And then you see we put on the Doppler velocities, so we're not seeing anything that jumps off the page that talks about rotation or that we have anything tornadic. However, as Dr. Steve was showing you, this little sliver in green, which right now is over the heart of Baton Rouge, that's where we've had the tendency to see those strongest winds. And I could tell you easily those winds are gusting over 60 miles per hour. That's going to be problematic not only for weak trees, but for power lines as well. Hail tracker, this has been another problem. This is the reason why we want a lot of folks off of the roads, because it's bad enough that you've got 1-inch diameter hail. Everything that looks like a little cloud cover here, that's all hail. St. Francisville to Melville, Livonia, all over the Atchafalaya Basin. And when you're driving into it, it can really pelt your car and do significant damage. Very dangerous situation. And there you see when we put the loop up, I've taken the lightning away so you can get a better look at what we have out there. And again, Baton Rouge is under it right now. We keep checking with the National Weather Service to see if they're issuing any new tornado warnings. We don't have one right now, but this is a very fluid situation where this could change easily. Again, between Grosse Tate, north side of Baton Rouge, Zachary, St. Francisville, it looks like you guys are actually behind the worst of it now. And Clinton definitely under the gun. If you're in that area, hunker down, stay indoors. We don't have a tornado warning, so you don't have to get to your safe space right now, but nevertheless, you want to make sure that you are sheltered in place. Down to Plaquemine, down to White Castle, and now Prairieville, down to Sorrento getting in on the action as well. Killian down to Laplace. Anything that you see in red. Now, what I've been looking closely at the radar, and you really have to zoom in on it, and occasionally in these darker reds, if you look even closer, you get these little pops of purple and white. When you start to see that, usually that is a pretty good indicator that we have hail out there. I'm not seeing that much, so it looks like we're seeing a little bit less in the way of hail and now more in the way of wind. So we're trading one bad for the other. The only other good thing I can tell you now is the entire forward speed of this storm system is moving even faster, so hopefully we're going to clear things out a little bit more quickly as well. Tornado potential strength not only shows things from the north of the I-10 corridor, but down to the south over the next hour or two, showing from Convent, Houma, over towards New Orleans. There is still going to be a tornadic threat over there, I would say easily going into the early part of the afternoon. Now, this is at 11:30 in the morning, so this is about 3 hours from now, showing that Baton Rouge will be behind it, and it's probably not even going to take that long. And then in the afternoon, you start to see the focal point will move a little bit more towards the New Orleans area. We'll keep a watchful eye on that. Still primary threats, damaging winds and tornadoes, 15%, but we've already seen a 1-inch diameter hail. Reminding you again, download our WAFB weather app. It's free, easy to use, and it's going to keep you updated as well. If you haven't secured any loose stuff outside, probably too late to do so. We don't have any active tornado warnings. We'll check back in with Dr. Steve in a little bit to see if that's still the case. But right now, if you do get into that tornado warning, or if you still feel compelled, even if you're not under a tornado warning, you want to be safe. First floor, don't have basements, interior closet, or a bathroom, preferably one that doesn't have a window or anything like that. Going back on over to our radar, and we actually do have a report. Stand by. Would you like me to toss out there? Yeah, we'll actually go ahead and send it now. We've got a live report for you. We'll take it live.
So what you see on your screen right now is the big light of the USS Kidd. We're about 200 yards away from it, and you can barely see those lights. And anything past that is really kind of out of our view. Like I said,
So it's kind of hard to hear Chris right there, partially because of that wind and a lot going on, but we can barely even make out. Yeah, you see there in the far distance, that's the USS Kidd. Not from that, far from that, it's that paperclip structure. But Matt, you look out, and where is the Mississippi River?
Yeah, so we trust that it's still there, but everything obviously clouded and shrouded as this storm moves through there. Liz, look, I got to tell you, as you look at this video, I just walked out the back door here at WAFB, just a parking lot, shot a little bit of video here, and it's sideways. It's moving sideways, and you can't like see some of the back, just the back part of the parking lot at WAFB. That's how quickly this is moving through. And to Steve and Jared's point, it's not just the dynamics of any cell moving through. It's also the storm as a whole, the speed that it's moving, and then the dynamics within these individual cells that create such a turbulent morning for South Louisiana. But to Gabby's point, 30 minutes ago in New Roads, it was absolutely sideways, quite literally. But its speed is moving it through. That's a plus and a minus. You may get some damage because of the speed, but hopefully it's gone in a moment.
And that's why we're asking you to go ahead and get into your safe spot as a family. A good idea. Just have that conversation now and to be together while you're there. You can, of course, follow our coverage on your phone. Make sure you have your devices. In fact, through our WAP weather app, we just pushed out a severe thunderstorm warning for our location. That's going to be Baton Rouge here above the Channel 9 studio. Heavy rain alert just went through about 21 minutes ago. Lightning's been detected. So you were seeing it in the radar there, right? Where Jared was tracking those thousands of different lightning bolts over the Baton Rouge area, including the WAP viewing area. A lot to follow here, and we're making sure that you and your family are covered. And remember, the National Weather Service, even when they have that severe thunderstorm warning in effect, it's the catastrophic winds that they're really worried about here, and they want you to take seriously. So don't be alarmed if you see that power go out at your home. We're tracking power outages across the state of Louisiana, and you can see here now upgraded here thanks to poweroutage.us. We're getting a rough number, about 157,000 customers statewide out of power right now. And Matt, we're seeing that picture happen in real time where it crosses over our viewing area, West Baton Rouge Parish. You got about 700 people without power, or customers rather, in East Baton Rouge Parish, still seeing about 1,100 customers without power. As the storm system continuously moves eastward, we're going to see that line of storms. Just expect that number to increase too.
Look, man, we saw this when we went on the air 4:30 this morning. That map that you just saw right there had about 40,000 outages, most of it contained to northwest part of Louisiana. That has clearly changed as the storm system moves through. What you're seeing now is the Entergy power outage map. Obviously, Entergy, the major power player in the state, they certainly are here in South Louisiana. And so you're starting to see, this is up in the northern part of East Baton Rouge Parish. You can kind of see some of the outages right now. This is exactly where Steve and Jared were pinpointing that kind of the tip of the spear, if you will, that bow echo. This is exactly where they were concerned about, what they were concerned about, just to the northern part of EBR and then north as you go towards a state line, that kind of a thing. Steve, this is exactly the part where you were concerned. You see False River, the power outages.
Look at all that
it's
red.
Tracking right along, obviously, where this storm is impacting.
Absolutely, and I'm going to start you guys with an updated look at radar, and then I'm going to read a tweet to you that I just got from a friend in St. Francisville. But here's a look at where that line is right now, extending from Centerville, Mississippi, down through Clinton at this hour. Pride, Baywood, Central, the eastern half of Baton Rouge, the leading edge of that bow echo. So now moving into Denham Springs, Watson. It'll be in the St. Helena Parish here shortly. Walker, and then down the line, Livingston, watch out as this moves on through. That is the most dangerous part of the line at this hour. Now, as I give me a second to pull up this tweet, I did want to note that the Airport New Roads did report a wind gust of 62 miles per hour. So we've seen pretty consistent gusts along the track of this line. Lake Charles was 63. I think Opelousas had 63. New Roads 62. We have seen several reports of wind gusts at least in the 60s. All right, let me read this tweet that I just got a couple of minutes ago. This is from Mike Smith in St. Francisville. Some of you might know him as the voice of LSU Gymnastics. He writes, if you're downstream of this storm, take shelter. He writes that in all caps. Just went through it in St. Francisville. Worst non-hurricane weather I've experienced here in 20 years. The amount of debris high in the air was shocking, and he estimates easily 75+ mile per hour winds, whiteout rain, trees down, roads closed. So I think that really paints the picture for you of what we were dealing with this morning. So that was St. Francisville as the line moved through a little while ago. You hear the reports. Let me also mention as I get back to widen this out. Also hearing from an old weather intern of ours, Henry Blakes, who's been a meteorologist up in Bismarck, North Dakota for a long, long time. He's got some family reporting to him also from that area, kind of closer to New Roads, and we're kind of working to confirm information, obviously, as reports roll in. But he had been told via family there was at least one report of a tree that had fallen on a vehicle that required some rescue. So we're trying to get more information on that. So obviously a dangerous situation in the path of the storm. Here's the worst of it, where you see that Boeing segment showing up right now moving into Liberty, Mississippi, crossing the parish line from East Feliciana into St. Helena and down towards Watson. Let's switch it over to the velocity view and see if we can get a better look at what velocity is showing right now. But what we know, we have seen widespread damaging winds greater than 60 miles per hour. So there's your Bow Echo, okay? So as a reminder, as we look at this velocity view where you see the greens, that's the wind blowing toward the radar, which is now located in Hammond. Red is blowing away, but that is the leading edge of those damaging winds. Again, very close to Watson right now, so that'll be headed into Pine Grove shortly and right on into Liberty, Mississippi. You guys need to be taking shelter. Now, let me pull this a little farther south because this area looks a little bit interesting too. As you start to get these little ripples in the line, you need to keep an eye on that. These types of systems, which we call QLCS in meteorology, quasi-linear convective systems, they're in essence kind of wiggly squall lines. And those wiggly squall lines are best known for producing damaging winds, but they're also known for at times having embedded rotations and sometimes can produce tornadoes. And if you're to see one, it's where you see these little kinks showing up. So we definitely need to keep an eye on that area right now. That would be out kind of near Shenandoah here in Baton Rouge. That's crossing Airline right now, headed out towards Shenandoah, the east side of the city. That'll be on the south side of Denham Springs. Looks a little bit interesting. So let's widen the view now and take a look at what we've got warning-wise. They have been coming so fast and furious. It's been hard to keep up at times. There's our tornado watch. Apologies, clicked on the wrong button. Here's what we have warning-wise. All right, so technically, the city of Baton Rouge is no longer under the severe thunderstorm warning. That has shifted eastward. Let me query some times on these for you now. What you see is entire parish is being included. That gives you an idea of the scope of the threat that we're dealing with. So all of Livingston, all of St. Helena, looks all of Tangipahoa, and then counties in southwest Mississippi, which I'll come back to here in a moment. That is a severe thunderstorm warning till 9:30. So not quite all of Livingston, about 80% of it, all of Tangipahoa, just about it looks like, and then you've got much of Wilkinson County and all of Amite and Pike County here, all under that severe thunderstorm warning. That's in effect till 9:30. And then let's take you farther south. I don't want to leave our viewers farther south out. It's just been a little more severe farther north. That's why we've had to focus, but certainly we also have this warning that extends from just south of Lafayette all the way through Morgan City. So that one's in effect through 9:15. So right now it's about 8:40, was that 8:48 it says on our clock, 8:48. So you can see stretching from Abbeville, south of Lafayette, all of St. Mary Parish in that one, much of St. Martin, all of Iberia included in that warning. It's in effect through 9:15. So let's broaden the view out on this and just give you a look at one more time on the radar what we are dealing with at this hour. So unfortunately, this is one of those instances where the forecast has kind of panned out as expected. We've had a significant damaging wind event unfolding around South Louisiana, and you see that just, boy, that classic bow shape right now, but the line does extend all the way down to the coast. All right, let's see, we've got a tornado warning. Looks like that's off to the east. That's over around the Pearl River, crossing Louisiana into Mississippi. All right, you guys ready at the desk? All right, let's go back to Matt and Liz at the desk.
All right, Steve, thank you. So we want to get you a look at what we're keeping our eyes on as that line of storms continues to move through South Louisiana. A live look, I believe this is WAFB.com/weather, where we're tracking all of this, and you can track it from the comfort of your own home as well. We also have some video to show you as you are sitting in your pictures from the ground. I believe we have some photos and videos. This is actually from Titan 9 there, from Gabriella and Brendan Shackelford as they made their way through LA1 and new roads there. So they're encountering some road closures as they're seeing some trees, fallen trees, debris kind of cover the roads there. As Steve mentioned it, he got a report about possibly a tree falling onto a car and being trapping some people in that. We've reached out to the Point Capee Parish Sheriff's Office to get a little bit more details on that to figure out where that is and where you might be stopped up if perhaps you are out on those roads.
Stopped up to and then turn around. This is the Bachelor part of the world. Rain, heavy rains out there and wind. This is a photo sent in to us from Valerie Short there in Bachelor. So from New Roads to Bachelor, obviously you can get an idea of where these storms were and are right now. This is continuing, again, some more video from the Bachelor part of the world. Moving through there at such great speed. You saw some of the trees snap there at New Roads from Gavin Mercurio and Brandon Shackelford. Hopefully they are on the backside of this now as they get to come out of this, but my goodness, what a ride that they have been on. And now we continue to get ready for it in Baton Rouge and Livingston and Ascension Parish, those kinds of things. It is moving so quickly.
You were just out in it and you saw what it looked like.
I literally just walked out the back door here at Channel 9 and just shot a quick little 60-second piece of video. And so it doesn't look impressive right now, but it's, again, this video is about 60 seconds long, and at the back end of it, you can't see anything. I am protected actually right there as I'm shooting this by a very heavy brick wall. The station is pretty good and sturdy, and so I'm not bouncing around a lot. At the back end of this, though, gets a little sideways, and I actually feel the sturdy hand of one of our photographers come onto my back and steady me up. Robert Hollins comes outside to make sure I'm not being a complete fool, because when we tell you don't to be out there, there's a reason for it. And so as this storm was kind of coming through, we could start to hear it on the rooftops at WAFB here. We started to hear the lightning. And so, that video, as it was continuing, you were about to see it get just completely blinded. We're right in the middle of it right there. You can kind of see it now pushing through Baton Rouge, really focused to the north there.
And we want to check in with Jared Silverman. He has some new data and information that he's watching here. And Jared, what are you learning right now here at 8:51?
Guys, we've had wind gusts well over 60 miles per hour, usually on our current conditions here, and that's I-10 and Acadian under the overpass, usually has a problem with flooding. It's looking okay right now. This usually significantly underdoes it, and it just said 40 to 45 mile per hour wind gusts, which means they are probably even stronger than that. As Matt just mentioned, it looks like the worst is just about to get through Baton Rouge. I don't want to speak too fast, but now in between Clinton back on over to Kentwood. And by the way, Dr. Steve passed this information along to you. That's the tornado warning that came up. This is well to the east of the Baton Rouge area. That's St. Tammany Parish. And again, that was Doppler indicated a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado. So what that means, this is about west of the Pearl River at about 10 miles southwest. And the whole thing is moving off to the northeast at about 30 miles per hour very briskly. So we don't have any confirmation of a tornado touchdown over here, but still that tornado warning is in effect for St. Tammany, and that is in effect for about another 30 minutes, and then they'll let it go. Again, on our Doppler velocities, we're not seeing anything that jumps off the page here. What we have been looking at through this entire morning is kind of that separation. So right now, if you live right around that separation point, I would say places like Livingston and Walker under the gun right now, certainly the possibility of very strong and gusty winds. And not only that, but hail has been a problem too. This is another big deal why we want folks to stay off the road. It's bad enough to have your car getting pelted by 1-inch diameter hail, but when you're driving into that, it could be even worse. Very easily, you can do significant damage to the windshield, rest of the car, or your property as well. And now you really see what's left of this bow echo, now in between Clinton going to Kentwood. So if you live anywhere, I would say up and down the I-55 corridor, this is now knocking on your doorstep and should be there very quickly. Denham Springs, you folks are under the gun as well. I'm looking at this red. I don't see any purple right now, so maybe the hail's gone down a little bit, and hopefully the winds will start to subside pretty soon too. Right now, we're going to send it back to Matt.
Jared, thank you. We actually have the Sheriff of West Feliciana Parish, Brian Spillman, on the phone joining us as we track the storm system move through West Feliciana Parish. Sheriff, we've heard that there is some significant damage across your parish. What are you seeing out there right now?
It's pretty bad. We're dealing with multiple trees in the roadway, complete blockage of most roads in the parish. There's very little movement that can occur. We're having some problem answering emergency calls based upon the access to the people because of the trees in the road, the power lines, and other things that are affected by the storm. we're asking everybody, just allow us to respond to our emergency calls. Please stay at home right now. Do not venture out onto the roads. It's a unsafe situation currently. We really need to get a handle on this and ask people just to bear with us.
It's good. Sheriff, thank you so much for being with us. As you're talking about, best advice, stay home right now. Allow for those emergency responders to get to those emergency spots. I tell you what, this has the feeling of a hurricane. We know what it feels like down here in South Louisiana when it comes through. This is exactly what it feels like.
Yes, it's very similar. We have multiple reports of tornadoes, and it's pretty visible when you get out and start riding around that there was some strong winds and tornadoes possibly that came through. Really dealing with a very, very tough situation for the next couple of hours till we kind of get a handle on this. Right now, we're just trying to respond to those emergency calls. We've had a couple calls of people trapped in homes and in vehicles, and we've gotten to them so far, but we're still fielding calls right now.
And Sheriff, can you kind of isolate where this is? Are we talking St. Francisville, or what part of the parish are we looking at here?
It looks like a line from St. Francisville north and east. It looks like the worst of it may have come across St. Francisville proper and continued north and east, and there's damage from St. Francisville all the way through the parish. Still getting reports of trees down and roads blocked as this storm moved through.
Sheriff, I want to make sure people heard you guys had some reports of people perhaps trapped and needed some help. You said you were able to get to them. Are there emergency calls out there right now that you are focused on because it involves people perhaps trapped in home or building?
Right now, we think that we have responded to all the calls, but there are people out there that may not can get to a phone. So we're still in the very early stages of this. We're trying to make heads and tails of where we are in it and what we're going to do. We have several events that are occurring simultaneously. We have a propane leak at one of our facilities. A tree fell on a propane tank that's emitting propane. We have a line worker for Demco that was trapped in a vehicle. We just removed and got him to the hospital. It's a really fluid situation currently.
My goodness.
Oh, well, Sheriff, we know you have a lot going on, so if you don't mind, we're going to check in with you in about 30, 40 minutes just to see if there's a status update, but please be safe to you and all your deputies and all the people working out there.
Thanks, folks. And if we could just get the message out to the people, if you would just stay off the roadways for now, give us a chance to get a handle on where we are. You can't really move anyway. There's so many trees down. There's a lot of people are going to be trapped for a little while until we're able to get our crews out, remove the trees from the roads, and the main thing is to open up these roads so we can respond to emergency calls.
Sheriff Spillman, thank you so much again for your time. We'll talk with you again soon. So take Sheriff Spillman's advice, right, for the folks there in West Feliciana, and take that and let it travel all over the viewing area. Stay where you are right now so you don't cloud up the roads or create more of an issue for first responders to get to. They talked about he had a Demco line worker that they trapped in a vehicle, had to get to the hospital. We talk about not having these line workers out there until it gets passed. Everybody wants their power back, but you can't have these folks out there in the middle of danger. It's going to take a minute. It's going to take some time, and it takes more time if we have folks on the road who don't need to be.
And so that's why I wanted to take you out to Point Copee Parish now, where Gabrielle Mercurio is seeing some of that. Now, the threat of that severe weather moves, so you're seeing a largely dry shot, just left what's left behind by the debris. It looks like we're looking at a roof here. And Gabriella, if you can hear us, can you kind of place us where we're looking at, what we're looking at?
Hey, Matt, Liz, I can hear you guys. We are in New Roads, and as you can see, there's a lot of debris on this specific house. It's all over the cars, all over the street. We have some law enforcement officials that are pulled over to the side of the road. They're kind of trying to direct traffic around some of those tree limbs. They were just here. They were actually pulling some of those tree limbs off the power lines that were right over that home, too, to make sure nothing bad happens over there. But as you can see, I mean, there are a lot of debris all over the house. They look like they're kind of trapped in their driveway, too. I mean, there's just a lot going on. But as you did mention, it's a pretty dry picture right now. We're in the off side of that rain. I'm sure it'll be coming back here in a minute. The winds kind of died down, but this is obviously the aftermath from those strong catastrophic winds we've been talking about. It kind of moved through New Roads. You were in it a few minutes ago. It's a little calm now, but this is all of that debris that from all that wind that we saw. So we're in new roads, like I said. I'm sure we're going to be seeing a lot more houses like this. We checked in with Sheriff Thibodeau. He said there are a lot of power outages like we've been reporting all morning, and there's a lot more trees down. So we're going to keep driving around and see what else we can find. But this house for sure has a lot of debris. Like I said, that's the aftermath from all those strong winds and rain that we saw. So it looks a little better, but there's definitely going to be a lot of cleanup after this, Matt and Liz.
Gabby, thank you, man. Appreciate it. So you heard her just say that she talked with the sheriff out there, right? And so the message sounds like it is the same from the sheriff there as it is in West Feliciana. It is that part of the viewing area, the northwest part of the viewing area, that saw that storm approach first. And so, yeah, they're going to be dealing with the downed trees, the down power lines, and the outages.
And a way you can help with that is by staying off
Yes,
of those
please.
roads as we deal with the linemen that are trying to get out with there, along with the first responders that are trying to get to people who may be trapped in vehicles and in homes. We just got a picture in, if we have it here, to show off the Innis Senior Center there in Point Coupee Parish, a large tree down there. Getting in this photo here, and as we keep in Point Coupee Parish, tracking some of that damage there, again, it is safe to do so. If you have any photos you can send to us, we sure would love to see them, because, Steve, this is helping us to tell that picture of just how much damage was done. Something to take seriously, Steve, is the serious wind.
Yeah, absolutely. What we know is we clearly had wind gusts in excess of 60 miles per hour, and quite possibly, if not likely in some areas, had winds in excess of 70 miles per hour. Recorded gusts so far include gusts in the low 60s in places like New Roads, in Opelousas, in Lake Charles. At the airport in Baton Rouge so far, peak gusts of 45. Also, when you get north and northwest of Baton Rouge into the Felicianas, Point Coupee, heavily forested areas, so that certainly really makes the damage worse. And when you hear from West Feliciana Sheriff Brian Spillman there, when you've got trees blocking most roads, boy, that sounds like it's going to be a long recovery and a long day of trying to get that cleaned up, and obviously still dealing with rain, although the severe weather threat, at least in West Feliciana, has let up. This bow echo is still alive and kicking right now. It extends from near Liberty, Mississippi, right on through much of St. Helena Parish, the eastern half of St. Helena. So Greensburg, Montpelier, now down into Livingston, right on through the town of Livingston and back towards Port Vincent, Prairieville. I think the southern edge is not quite as intense in terms of the winds right now. When you get closer to Gonzales, not say you're not going to still get some strong winds out of that, but the most intense part is kind of closer to the state line. Let's reset on the warnings right now, give you a look at what we have in terms of warnings around the area. Now, no tornado warnings locally, but we do still have a number of severe thunderstorm warnings. So you see where I was just talking about that bow echo that extends through Livingston, St. Helena. That's in effect through 9:30 this morning. And let's see if this is a separate warning up here in southwest Mississippi. That one's in effect through 9:15, so about another 15 minutes on that. Farther south, about another 30 minutes. So still very active, very dangerous line of storms racing eastward. So as we come back to the traditional radar view, by the way, flash flood warning here in parts of Baton Rouge at this hour. So watch out for what could be some street flooding in some neighborhoods. That line of storms, look at the shape here, and you see this bending back all the way back in Iberia and St. Mary parishes, but it's the northern extent near and north of I-10 and I-12 in the southwest Mississippi. It's the most dangerous and damaging part of it. We'll pull up the velocity view on this, and let me bring this in a little bit closer. And what I'm going to do here now, we're going to loop this, and I think this is going to give you a good look at our strong winds. Just watch this again, racing eastward. So as I'll pause this, and we'll talk about it one more time. There's the leading edge of your strong winds. You see that sharp line? That's evidence of the strong winds that are moving in. So just south of Macomb now, moving into Tangible Hope Parish. So Kentwood extending down through Amite, and then approaching Hammond at this hour. The winds are moving in. Albany, Holden, Killeen, Springfield beginning to move in. Looks like they're probably through Frost right now, extending down to near French Settlement and down towards Gonzales. Looks not as strong down in Ascension at this hour, but still, we need to track it closely. All right, where are we going next, Kirsten? All right, let's go over to Jared now.
Hey, Dr. Steve, thank you so much. So I wanted to take a look at the LSR, the local storm reports, and as the minutes go by, we're starting to see a few more of these reports come clear. And this is over at Point Capee, and it wasn't just there. It was also portions of East Feliciana, West Feliciana that have reports of wind gusts between 60 and 65 miles per hour, and that was over at their AWAS station there at Point Capee. It wasn't just that, but this just got passed along about a minute ago. Also near Baton Rouge, I should say East Baton Rouge, a tree down at North 19th and Main. I'm not sure if we have that, but again, there's a tree down there at North 19 and Main. Time of that report was 8:32, so that happened about 20-30 minutes ago, and that was due to thunderstorm wind damage. Anytime you see that little broken tree right there, that's what you get. Not only over here, but also there are other parts of the viewing area that have seen damage reports. Let me zoom all the way out, and you could also see there in the Lafayette area, not only wind damage and reports of trees down between Lafayette to Opelousas and north up I-49, but then down across the Atchafalaya Basin, those represent a couple of hail reports. So we have also seen our hail tracker picking up hail in 1-inch diameter size. There you see what's left on our radar right now. You see that little green polygon that went over Baton Rouge. Of course, that's for the flood warning. There's what's left of that bow echo, that area in red. So if you're anywhere there right now, that's where the real danger lies. We still have the tornado warning. That's up to the eastern part of the viewing area here. That's for St. Tammany Parish. That's in effect until 9:30, so they should let go of this in about another 20 to 25 minutes or so. I've been looking at the velocity in that area, and again, that's up and down the I-55 as it's passing Baton Rouge, now Livingston, Walker to Hammond. Again, nothing jumping off the page here, but the winds in that column easily have been right around 60 miles per hour, so keep a watchful eye on that. The hail tracker showing everything that looks clouded here from St. Francisville to Clinton. I don't have reports of hail damage, but we do have reports of 1-inch diameter hail over there. So again, if you're up or down I-55, Kentwood, down to Amite, down to Hammond, and over to Walker. Matter of fact, Walker, you guys under the gun right now, give it a few more minutes, and Walker, hopefully the wind should start to diminish and the heavier rains will start to move east of your area. Now, we're starting to get rid of that severe threat from Baton Rouge back on across the Atchafalaya. But again, if you're in between Amite, Kentwood, places northward, Folsom, down to Hammond, down to Killian, you definitely want to shelter in place. I believe we do have a live report now from our Gabriella Mercurio. Gabriella, I'll send it out to you.
Hey, Jared, yeah, we're still in New Roads. We're making our way towards Morganza, but we decided to stop on this street where we've been getting reports of some damage. I'll take you outside. This is Delta Road Place, and as you can see, there is some debris in people's yards. It looks like a roof was torn off of this shed over here. I mean, it's all over the yard, as you can see. That is a big piece of whatever it looks like, maybe their roof off of the shed, and that's the damage from all of these winds. There's a lot of debris in the grass, too. The rain is starting to come back down right now as well, and as Brandon kind of moves around trying to show you, there's a hole in that roof, and let's take you to the other side of the street, too, because it's not just this house. This house over here also has a big hole in their roof as well. Those winds, like you guys said, have been catastrophic this morning. They've been ripping this off of their roof, kind of throwing around all of this debris. This is the first that we're seeing of the damage, the aftermath. It's going to take a while to kind of recover from all these winds, and unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. As you can see from that tree back there, the winds are still going. We're still having on and off rains, so it's going to be quite a busy morning. We're already seeing some damage. This road, getting a lot of it, it seems like. We're going to keep moving our way towards Morganza. Like we said, we talked to the sheriff earlier. He said there's a lot of power lines down, trees down. Unfortunately, it's not just this street. It's looking like this all over New Roads and Point Capee. We're going to be moving around and seeing who else has some of this damage, but this is a live look for you right now of what we're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. What was curious, though, as you guys begin to move around, are you seeing other folks begin to move around, perhaps thinking that the worst of the storm is over, walking out to assess kind of what they see in their yards and neighborhoods? So again, our Gabby Mercurio and our Brandon Shackelford in Titan 9 moving around through New Roads, Point Capee Parish. We'll check back in with them later as they quite literally take off again there. But that is one of the spots, Liz, that we were first watching this morning in our viewing area because it was catching that leading edge of that big bow echo that Steve and Jared have been talking about. And there you see some of the damage right there. The trees weakened by the drought of this past summer, and then maybe a little bit of rain here and there, weakening some of the roots. And hopefully you don't have some of these major trees toppling topple over. Hopefully it's just a branch here and there. But my goodness, when you're talking about gusts like we have dealt with already, yeah, you could be seeing some damage, and we already are.
And for that reason, if you are in the Point Cookie Parish area and you're watching and you're just curious about what you're seeing out there, we're asking you to take some caution here. Look, first responders already have a lot on their plate. And Gabby, you just checked in with the sheriff there, Renee Thibodeau. And as people kind of walk out and see some of this damage here, I mean, it's remarkable to see firsthand, but are you seeing people kind of come outside now that the threat of the severe weather has moved past?
We don't see anyone outside, and it's probably for the best. Like I said, the winds are still kind of going. The rain is still on and off. I know you're probably really interested in seeing what's outside, but that's why we have the Titan 9 truck out here. We are your eyes for you. Please don't be outside. Please don't be on the roads. Like we said, we're already seeing a lot of this damage already. Luckily, it doesn't seem like any of the power lines are down, but if you're in your area and you walk outside and you do see those tree limbs down, you do see those power lines down, it's best to stay far away from them. They could still be hot. And it's just not safe. And who wants to stand out in the rain while all this is going on? Let us do that for you. We are in the Titan 9. It's safe out here. So please try and stay out of the weather while it's still going on. Like you guys said, law enforcement is doing their best to kind of respond and get out to you. But it's going to take them a minute. It's difficult for them to get out here too. So it's going to take a minute. Please try and stay in that sheltered area for now. Let's go ahead and check back in with Johnny.
And I got to tell you, it doesn't have to have a name to have severe consequences like we just saw. This is the I-10 bridge on the Port Allen side of the I-10 bridge. Westbound traffic at the LA1 off-ramp. The right lane of the off-ramp is blocked. You can get around it by going all the way to the left and then sneaking all the way back to the right to get off at the LA1 off-ramp. Again, crash with injuries. The right and center lanes temporarily blocked. Good news is the wreckers are on the scene. The second part of good news is since the traffic is a little lighter today, it's not really backed up into Baton Rouge horribly yet. And the third piece of good news is hopefully they'll clear that up momentarily, show you right where it is. See, it's just a little bit of a backup. There's your LA1 off-ramp, and it's not quite to the other side of the bridge just yet. There it is. Right and center lanes blocked. I-10 west at the LA1 off-ramp in Port Allen. Acadian Underpass, we have vehicles, emergency vehicles staged on both sides of the underpass. Not going to need to close it. They didn't close it at all this morning, but sometimes with a lot of rain and a short amount of time, that Governor's Mansion curve on 110, the Bluebonnet Underpass near Mall of Louisiana, all of that was fine this morning, and they're going to sit there for a little while longer, but they're not expecting to have to close any of those underpasses here in the Baton Rouge area. Still raining, though, on the interstate. Light traffic. This is our first alert traffic camera from Gordon McKernan right near the College Drive area, and that traffic is moving pretty well there this morning. But again, our big ticket item, the only ticket item we have right now is injury accident on the bridge on the Port Allen side, I-10 westbound at the LA1 off-ramp. But Matt, Liz, it seems to like things are getting a little bit better. Looks like it moved through here a little quickly this morning.
I think so. I think you're right, Johnny. And I wanted to point out, the map that you just showed, the traffic, amazing. What happens at 9 o'clock in the morning in Baton Rouge if there's a crash on the bridge? You're backed up for miles. And so thankfully, a lot of folks were paying attention. Look, schools canceled for the day. You got a lot of state, city, parish offices done. And so that limited traffic already. And then folks who maybe would be going to work today paid attention to a lot of this. There isn't the traffic on the bridge. And so that crash that has all but locked it up, there's one lane open. The backup is not so severe.
And that's in large part to our meteorologists tracking this for you since Friday. And that's why, in anticipation of severe weather threats like this, look, you never know, right? You can't predict what Mother Nature is going to do. That's why you take these threats seriously. That's why schools close in anticipation so nobody is caught out in that mess. And Johnny's traffic camera, where we're seeing that, that is a result of that. We also want to get a check out of Livingston Parish. We've called the sheriff's office there, Jason Ard, saying they are seeing a lot of rain there in Livingston Parish, but no damage at this hour. Certainly some good news to report as the storm tracks eastward, and we continue to follow that moving through our area. And you remember how quickly that picture changed. You look at something like this, Matt, and you think, man, this is evident of what appears to be conditions that you would see normally like a hurricane, right? We checked in with West Feliciana Parish where they are tracking a lot of debris out on the road. St. Francisville and up north of that, well, Sheriff Brian Spillman saying they are trying to answer and get to those 911 calls as fast as they can. So, folks, if you are trying to get to EMS or get to a first responder, please be patient. We know that you have an emergency, and so does the sheriff. The deputies are trying to get to you, but they're making their way down that list, trying to get to emergencies in the order of they got those calls. But remember, when you talk about power outages because of wind damage. Some of that could include your phone line. So if you're having trouble getting through, the sheriff warned us, you might be encountering that problem as we make our way through the morning here.
So you just mentioned the like phone lines could be down. Power lines are certainly going to be down, right? And so that's the National Weather Service emergency alert graphic that we've shown you a few times, talking about the potential for catastrophic damage. And again, we've seen maybe a little bit of that as you go through places like Point Capee and places like West Feliciana. This is what we're concerned about, that we want to make sure that you are not out and having to deal with.
That's serious.
Down power lines. This is near Old Perkins, so this is East Baton Rouge Parish, kind of near the Ascension EBR Parish line, if you're familiar with Old Perkins Road. This is why you don't want to be out there right now. So that has happened, right? That is in the past, and that is something that's going to need to be cleaned up. We want to make sure that you don't think this is all in the past for our viewing area. From Kentwood to Amite to Hammond, our friends in Tangi, that is still a storm in the making for you. So this, what you're seeing right here, could potentially be your future. Please be careful. Do what you need to do right now, stay off the roads, and just make sure you have that safe place. But again, Old Perkins near the Ascension EBR line.
This is Jefferson Terrace, Baton Rouge. Janet Canella sending us this video here where you can see some of that heavy rain moving through in the Baton Rouge area. This came in just about 20-30 minutes ago as that line of storms moved through East Baton Rouge Parish. And again, the threat for EBR largely moved through, and we're going to get you through it. But our WAFB viewing area, not through the severe weather threat. Matt mentioned the areas we're watching, even tracking through the New Orleans area. That's going to have a big impact on us, especially as we talk about power outages for the hours to come, road closures. We just showed you those power lines down, the transformer kind of working through. And again, we still have to get linemen into our area to fix some of those power lines to get that back up and running. A large reason why schools are closed today, a majority of them, state offices are closed. Yes, so we don't see the traffic out on the roads where we need to. And again, you are our eyes and ears. Thank you to you guys for sending in your photos and videos to 9reports.com, Matt. That is largely why we're able to show things like this, so people don't have to get out there, be looky-loos, and really get in the way of first responders trying to do their job to make sure people are safe.
Let's get you on to Santa Ma. And you see, obviously, this is some of the concern that we had. Well, you know, when they talked about the big issues, like the potential for tornadoes or strong winds or hail, flooding was one of the issues, but it was kind of a low-grade issue. Well, you know what? It's not low-grade if your area always floods and just the smallest of rain showers. Again, you see some flooded yards there. This is the Santa Ma part of the world. And so that's something they're going to have to be dealing with. Hopefully that begins to, move out and those yards become drier and drier and drier. But to your point and what we talked about, the speed of the storm may help that as well, getting through that quickly. But the speed of the storm, just the storm itself, not to mention the dynamics within the cells, is creating a lot of issues, creating a lot of power outages.
So let's pair what you're seeing on the ground with what you're seeing in terms of poweroutage.us. Now tracking here, 176,000 customers out of power. West Feliciana Parish, where we just checked in with, you're seeing a lot of red, and that's because that is a lot of those trees, the canopy trees that have fallen out into the roads, potentially knocking out those power lines. That's why you see that deep shade of red there. 4,876 customers out power with West Feliciana Parish. Not much of a difference there. East Feliciana Parish in orange, you're seeing quite a few people out there as well this morning at 9:17. And we're going to see this. This is going to be the story of the morning, tracking those power outages as that storm pushes east. In fact, Jared Silverman is tracking those line of storms that is moving east. And Jared, at this hour, what parishes are you really focusing in and now for safety reasons?
I would say up and down I-55, Liz, between Amite and it looks like just past Livingston and Walker. We've already had several local storm reports. Let's start with this one at Point Capee. They had an AWAS station over there between 60 and 65 mile per hour, and that was clocked over there. We have a few more storm reports. This over in East Baton Rouge, a tree down at North 19th and Main. Again, that's North 19th and Main. That happened about a half hour ago. Thunderstorm wind damage, again, more than a 60 mile per hour wind gust there, knocked that tree down over the roads. And then this one just came in because it's a little bit farther east, and that's over in Livingston. And that was a report of 1-inch tree limbs being broken and shingles being blown off of multiple roofs. That happened about, I would say, 10, maybe 15 minutes ago. And that was also due to thunderstorm wind damage. So we've got multiple reports all across our viewing area of wind damage. We've had a lot of hail. We haven't had reports of hail damage so far. Most of the hail has been at or below 1-inch diameter. When it's below 3/4 of an inch, usually we don't consider it strong or severe hail. So that's some good news if I could put that out there. But still that column where we're seeing the strongest thunderstorms and the strongest wind gusts at about 60 miles per hour is literally right now paralleling the I-55. That's Kentwood down to Amite over to Hammond. And as you go a little bit farther over, Bogalusa, and this was actually where there was a tornado warning just a few minutes ago over in St. Tammany Parish. The St. Tammany tornado warning was allowed to expire. That's good news. Checking my phone right now and checking the National Weather Service, I don't see an update of any new tornado warnings. So far, so good right now. We're not seeing any active tornado warnings. Again, you can see that column, that separation point on the radial velocities in between Amite, Franklinton, and Folsom. Anywhere in that column right now is probably experiencing 50 plus, maybe even 60 plus mile per hour winds. Hail was also an issue across the Atchafalaya Basin from St. Francisville to Clinton, back down to Zachary, down to Gross Tate, and over in the Lafayette to Opelousas area. In fact, right around the Lafayette area, they did have a couple of reports of hail damage over there when they had hailstorms producing bigger than 1 inch diameter. Here's the current radar loop, and here's Baton Rouge. I know it's very messy, so I'll point us out. I took the lightning out just so you can see the radar a little bit better. And as you go across the Atchafalaya Basin towards the west, it looks like things are starting to quiet down. Not totally out of the woods, though, because if you look down to the south, southwest of White Castle, Pierre Part, and Plaquemine, see a couple of those areas still in red. I don't see any more purples or whites coming on the radar. That's good, because that's usually indicative of areas where you're going to get hail. So I'm not seeing anything right now that says tornado, not seeing anything right now that says hail, but we have already seen quite a bit of wind damage across the viewing area. Prairieville down to Sorrento, places like Gonzales, still not totally out of the woods yet, as there is a little bit of red on that radar. And now Denham Springs, hopefully looking a little bit better. Let's zoom out, give you the real big picture. You see the counterclockwise circulation. We're still going to have possibly some lingering showers and a little bit of wraparound. Sometimes we get that wraparound around that counterclockwise swirl. But there you can see, look at the explosion of lightning out there as we had thousands of strikes. I would say maybe in a 30-minute span, that was about it. And the very end of this loop, as I mentioned, we've taken out the tornado warning. So right now, it doesn't appear that we have a tornado threat actively in the viewing area, but you do see these polygons in yellow and orange indicating areas where they're now down to a severe thunderstorm warning. That's still in effect. The tornado potential strength is going to move the focal point, as I mentioned, not only to the east, but down to the southeast. So you see the tornado threat goes away from Baton Rouge, but then it starts to pick up in areas in and around New Orleans. And as we get to the early part of the afternoon, you'll see all of this go away. And again, not anticipating things to get worse. Still the two primary threats for the eastern part of the viewing area, tornadoes and damaging winds. We remind you to download our WAFB.com weather app at WAFB apps. That's something that you definitely want to have. And remember, if you do see the weather pick up where you are, you want to be in the smallest room possible on that lowest floor as well. Getting back to our radar, though, again, we are seeing a couple of areas of very heavy downpours that are still out there. I'm waiting for my radar to catch up to me here. It'll just take a second. And again, this is going to show that we still have that area in red. Now we've got the flood warning for the Hammond area. Another separate flood warning that's in effect right now over in Covington, and we still have one right here surrounding Baton Rouge, and then points over back to the west. It looks like we're starting to see a little bit of a clearing back to the west, but again, over to the east, that's where our focus is. I don't see any rotation here, and there's nothing on our current velocity that says that we're seeing anything really badly in that area as well. As I mentioned, we did have multiple areas of wind reports, winds in excess of 60 miles per hour. We had one of them just before on the east side of Baton Rouge. That was reported about 1 hour ago when the main line moved through. And then here's a report from Point Capee. That was a 62 mile per hour wind measured by their AWAS station over there. That was at 8:15. You see a little bit of a damage report in the Walker area, East Baton Rouge, so EBR, a tree down at North 19th and Main. That was at 8:32. And then another report over in Livingston. This was over a 1 inch tree limbs broken and shingles blown off of their roofs from thunderstorm and wind damage. That's a look at your radar right now. Where am I sending it to now? Back to the desk. All right, Matt and Liz, we'll kick it back to you.
Appreciate it. So he's giving you a good look at where the storm is right now and the impact, again, right along that I-55 corridor. That's the now. We're going to make sure folks know that. But where the storm has already been, we're starting to get a better idea of what it's left behind.
We're talking about Point Capee Parish, West Feliciana Parish, East Fell, a lot of the damage there. And again, we do want to remind you, we're getting a lot of calls into the newsroom about what you're seeing out there. Remember, we are not a 911 service, and we know that you may be having some difficulty trying to get to emergency services. The sheriff there warning you to sit tight. We know that it is emergency. We know that. So we want to get you a look outside. Gabriella Mercurio, Brandon
has been all
Shackelford,
morning.
they've been in Point Copee Parish all morning trying to get to some of the scenes that we're seeing out. When you talk about, Jared, say thousands of lightning strikes, what does that translate to? Well, trees down in the road. You're seeing a lot of debris out. And Gabby, where are you right now and what are you seeing out there?
Hey guys, we're actually off Point Copee Road, and you're right, the lightning and also those winds, you just heard Jared say they recorded 65-mile-an-hour winds. That's what's causing all the trees to come down. It seems like every road we go down, we're having a lot of debris down. I mean, as you can see here, there's this little tree limb that's over the road. We have a hard time trying to get around it. Further down the road, too, there's an even bigger tree down. This is the scene for a lot of roads around town. I mean, we've tried to go a few ways and had to turn around because there are just trees down everywhere. Just got off the phone with Sheriff Renee Thibodeau. He actually told me this is the scene for a lot of the area. There's actually 30 trees reported down on the railroad track in Innis. So it is happening all over the parish. Like you guys said, they are working hard to try to get to everybody, but it's hard for them to get around too, not just with the continuing wind and rains. There's possible flooding over here, and there's also now all of these trees down. Give us a second. We're going to keep traveling down on Point Copee Road, and you'll start to see there's a really large tree that snapped. It's just barely hanging on in this person's yard, but most of it is kind of flopped over in the road here as Brandon kind of gets a little closer for you to be able to see the full picture here. I mean, this is a large tree. This is a large tree. There's always a bunch of big trees in this area, but I mean, this one is completely blocking the entire street. We can't go any further now. Look how big that tree trunk is. It's completely snapped except in one little area there it's trying to hang on, but that's the damage that we're talking about from those catastrophic winds. I heard Jared say 65 miles an hour, so it's no joke. And like you mentioned, with the lightning as well, it could be a huge factor. I mean, it's barely hanging on there. This person's tree is in their yard, but now it's cascaded over and into the entire street. This is what a lot of streets look like. Like I said earlier, Brandon and I have been trying to drive around the parish, and it's been a little hard to try and get to some of these areas that people are calling in about or we're getting tips on to try and survey some of this damage, because this is a situation we're running into. So just be safe, try and stay indoors like we've been saying, and also give law enforcement some grace, give them a minute, because they're dealing with a lot of these trees down too. It's hard for them to get to some areas right now, guys.
Gabby, thank you for that live look there, not to mention some of those gullies or the ditches off the side of the road there. Again, thankfully, Titan 9, you guys are lifted and high up on the road there, but certainly scary when you see that water kind of surpass on that main roadway there at Point Copee Parish Road there off of LA1. But when you run into situations like that, that's a sign, stay home. Turn around and grip back right into that driveway, because that's a lot of what first responders are trying to get to remove that out of the way, so then it will then be safe for you to get out and about.
Yeah, the hope is you don't run into that
Right.
situation because you're not out there to have to deal with it. Hopefully a lot of these, we're seeing a lot of limbs down, we're seeing a lot of trees down. Hopefully most of these are landing in spots where it's just cleanup and it's not damage. You are going to see some of the damage to buildings and structures, and you're certainly going to see some of the stuff take out power lines, to your point, phone lines as well. One of the good things, you say this, one of the silver linings about living where we live, you go through storm after storm after storm, and hopefully you go to school on that, and we certainly have in a lot of places, and we figured out, look, you cannot evacuate trees, but what you can do is make sure that they are pruned in places that need to be so they don't take out power lines when something like this happens. It's going to happen. Regardless of how well prepared you are, it's going to happen in spots. Nothing is 100%, but there are things that South Louisiana can do and has done to try and prevent crazy situations from happening. So hopefully a lot of these downed trees are not impactful in ways that go beyond just where they fell. If they are, make sure you're giving, to her point, to Gabby's point, the grace to those first responders and those crews that will get out there once it's safe to do so.
That's it. Nobody who isn't a first responder
Correct.
should be in such a hurry to
You're
get
right.
anywhere where they need to. When first responders are dealing with a situation like this with down roads and down lines,
Yeah.
especially as they try to get those 911 calls through to respond to everybody. Again, the severe weather threat not over for the WAFB viewing area. We're still tracking a flash flood warning in the Hammond area, Tangipahoa Parish, severe thunderstorm warning in certain parts of it. And remember, when you see that word catastrophic damage, that is the word the National Weather Service is using. When you talk about wind damage, Matt, it is the tree and the debris that you see flying around that has landed in certain places. Fortunately, for some people, it is their yard, it is their driveway, and it hasn't hit something, or it wasn't a projectile item. But when you talk about what we saw and heard from Sheriff Brian Spillman in West Feliciana Parish, you had debris hitting a truck, a Demco lineman, eventually getting to him, and then he made his way to a hospital there. But that is a picture that they're seeing in San Francisco and up north there, where you're seeing a lot of different calls and responders trying to get to them because they're still trying to assess the situation, Matt. The storm passed less than an hour ago through Westfell, and we're seeing that in the form of power outages, possibly even traffic delays.
Yeah, and so actually, the one traffic delay that Johnny was following up on the bridge. Johnny, is that still there? What are you following right now as far as we're driving around?
Nothing. It is really surprisingly quiet based on the weather that we had through here. I think it was smart to cancel some schools and some office closures to keep you off the road. Not that you would not be safe inside the school or inside your office. It's getting to and from during the heart of this storm system. So the I-10 westbound LA1 off-ramp bridge crash, gone, no backups associated with that. Kind of right on down here, you can definitely see it's now getting back to a normal flow of traffic, what little traffic there is out there this morning. And we take it back to the Acadian underpass again. There's still staged there because we're not completely through it yet, but I don't think that they're going to need to close any of the underpasses or the 110 north and southbound right around the Governor's Mansion curve that tends to gather some water. Good flow of traffic, very light traffic here at the College Acadian Thruway area. I saw this off and on this morning. A lot of folks driving through real heavy rain with their flashers on, and that's not legal to do. Save your flashers for when you're stopped. Flashers should only be used with emergency vehicles, and if you're in a passenger car or truck, even some of the commercial trucks, if you're rolling down the road, do not put your flashers on. That is the law. So save that to when you move off to the right shoulder of the road. Again, not a bad flow of traffic. I don't have the overlay here. Jared Silverman is in. He'll be giving us some updates on the weather. But right now, the traffic situation in and through the Baton Rouge area, considering what we went through this morning, Matt and Liz, not bad.
Whew, we'll certainly take that.
Fast.
Yeah, Johnny, thank you for watching that.
So yeah, as we kind of give you a look around our Sky 9 camera network, kind of painting some of the picture here. Looks like we're on top of, this is Our Lady of the Lake, kind of spun around a little bit. Is that where we are?
Looks to be the Regional Medical Center there off of
Medical Center.
Essen.
Yeah, and so that gives you an idea. We still got the clouds out there. And look, I don't want to talk in the past tense here for the entire viewing area, like this was a quick moving storm. Along that I-55 corridor, Jared was just talking about it, our friends in Hammond, it's kind of getting to you right now. But a lot of folks west of that, Baton Rouge and west, it was kind of a situation dealing with the aftermath now.
Steve, or what are you seeing for our friends there in Hammond and then beyond eastward?
Yeah, so it's now starting to shift east to Hammond at this hour, the leading edge of that damaging bow echo and squall line. Not looking quite as intense as it did earlier this morning, but as you get west of I-55, Metro Baton Rouge, it's about time to sound the all clear on the severe weather threat near and north of I-10 and I-12. We still have some strong storms along and south of I-10, and we're still tracking some strong storms along the coast at this hour, but things starting to settle down in Baton Rouge. Now, I do want to bring it down to the coast a bit and give you a look at what we're tracking here. Let's see, that's not cooperating. So we'll do it this way. But we're going to bring you down towards St. Mary Parish. We are seeing some heavy storms come ashore here and parts of Iberia as well. So Jeanerette over towards Franklin and Baldwin right now. It's pretty strong storms coming ashore there. Nothing being warned on that. I do want to note also that while I think the severe weather threat has largely kind of come to an end here in Baton Rouge and westward, we are going to still be tracking this rain moving in from the southwest. We do technically still have a flash flood warning in effect for the city of Baton Rouge, at least parts of the city and parts of West Baton Rouge at this hour. I haven't heard of any significant reports of flooding. I think that was kind of a preemptive warning from the National Weather Service as some of that heavy rain moved in. Concerns about urban flooding, street flooding as the rains really came down, but nothing major that I've heard of. So let's take you east to that line now and take a closer look at what is happening with that. So here's what we've got. The line is now moving into Washington Parish, where you can see a warning in place. You might be able to see. I'll show you just the warnings here to kind of clean it up. The line of storms now on the east side of Hammond, so headed into Robert at this hour. It's headed to the North Shore, Lake Pontchartrain. Still some heavy stuff down towards Ponchatoula, starting to get a little bit east to Killian and Springfield at this hour. You can also see we do now have a flash flood warning centered on Hammond. So again, in the more urban areas right now, seems as though the National Weather Service has been a little more aggressive with the flash flood warnings. We do have flash flood warnings down New Orleans. Has been some reports of flooding down there. And then you can see the sort of the southern extent of this line that comes right around into parts of St. James and Ascension parishes, back towards St. John the Baptist, lower half of Livingston. Still some heavier rains, White Castle to near Plaquemine at this hour. But as you get, say, north and northwest of Sorrento at this hour, seeing the severe weather threat winding down, still pretty heavy storm here. So as a promise, let me widen out the view and kind of do a reset on where we stand with the warnings at this hour, because we do still have a number of warnings. Now, in terms of what we have in our viewing area, you can see Ascension, Lower Livingston, all of St. James, Northern Assumption, St. John the Baptist. You get into St. Charles and a little bit of Northern Lafourche Parish, all still under warning at this hour. Let's see how much longer that one's in effect. That's through 10 a.m. So still about 25, 26 minutes. Right now it's 9:33, so 27 minutes left on that. The one that extends from near and east to Hammond across the North Shore at this hour, that one is in effect through 10:45. And then let me give you a look at a couple of those flash flood warnings, see what we got. The one that covers Baton Rouge right now, technically in effect through noon. That could be canceled early, although we still have some moderate to occasionally maybe heavy rains to get through over the next couple of hours as some more activity moves in from the southwest. And also that flash flood warning that's in effect around Hammond. Let's see if we can get a click on that one, give you an idea. That one's in effect through 12:15. So that gives you an idea. We do have the tornado watch that's in effect through 1 o'clock as well. Julia, repeat that again. Where are we going next? All right, let's get back to Matt and Liz. Well, so before I get back to you guys, so real close to sounding the all clear for much of our viewing area. I think the hardest hit areas, just north and northwest of Baton Rouge, we can sound the all clear there. We are, though, still dealing with some rain as they work to now kind of clean up the mess and work on some of those downed trees and some of the damage that occurred this morning, guys.
That's what we're seeing. Well, and that's actually the exact spot that he's talking about, just to the north and west of Baton Rouge, where our Gabby Mercurio has been. That's exactly what she's seeing.
And Gabby, as that severe weather threat moved out of our area, you're seeing linemen, I believe, out through the lens of Titan 9. Can you tell us where you are right now, what road you're on, and what you're seeing?
Yeah, guys, we're on LA1 and we're seeing about a handful of linemen actually on this road. They're kind of trying to push traffic so they can get to some of these power lines. Let me show you outside. They are kind of off the side into one of these fields working on these power lines. Luckily, they're not completely down, but they are definitely slanted and pushed over. That's still unsafe. As you can see, all those bright orange coats, they're out here trying to work on it. They just got here, just got outside. They're going to start assessing what's going on there and trying to get that pole upright. I'm not sure if this is what's also contributing to a lot of the power outages. I know it's just leaning a little bit, but it's still not safe like that. So we're already starting to see some of these crews out here trying to fix some of the damage. Luckily, there's not a large tree down on this road like we just saw a few minutes ago, so they were able to get out here. It seems like pretty quickly they already got the bucket truck up. They're working on getting up there and trying to fix any of that power that might have been lost.
Gabby, thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Again, live in the New Roads area, so I think Point Capee. So that's one of the areas, Liz, that we were really focused on. From Point Capee into West Feliciana as well. We've already talked with the sheriff about some of what he's seeing. We got him with us again now.
Sheriff, good morning. At 9:36, we're grateful to check in with you here. In the last 30 minutes, any progress on some of the roadways and getting to those 911 calls?
We're making slow progress. Things are starting to get a little bit better, but we're still dealing with calls coming in for emergency service. We have a family trapped in a home with a tree on it, 2 of those actually, that we're working on right now, trying to, number one, gain access to them and then get them safely away from the situation that they're in. So that's priority 1 right now. We're dealing with that. Still a lot of trees across roadways that are giving us problems as far as accessing certain areas of the parish. it's really it's really difficult traveling right now.
From trees on, how, obviously, like you said, priority number one, making sure that family is safe and you're able to reach them. After that, clearing some of the roadways so you can manage, obviously, everything in the parish. What about trees on power lines? What kind of power outage situation is Westphal dealing with right now?
We have DEMCO and Energy Service here in the parish, and I'm told that DEMCO is 100% out in the parish. Energy has a large portion of their service that's out as well. I haven't gotten an update on that recently, but there's basically no power in the parish.
There you have it, folks. You heard the parish sheriff there say that there's basically no power in the parish. So if you don't need to be outside, don't. Go ahead and stay home as they work to get the roads cleared and the linemen out there. And Sheriff, going back to those families, by any chance, do you know, based on the calls, if the trees fell into bedrooms or where exactly in the home they may have fell?
We have two families that are currently trapped. I've spoken to one on the phone. They're safe. They just have a lot of rain, water, and damage fell through the middle of the home. The other one is a mother with some children that we're trying to access right now. My guys are, along with our fire service folks, are en route to them as we speak. We've also got some mutual aid assistance coming in from Zachary and other places, people that have reached out to help us. So we're accepting that as well. But it's, as I said earlier, it's still a fluid situation. We're still dealing with emergencies. We're in response mode and we'll be in recovery mode as soon as we can, but right now we're still responding to emergencies.
Sheriff, again, thank you so much for your time, keeping us updated right here. Obviously, this is going to be one of the more active areas in the WAFB viewing area, so we'll keep in touch with you as the morning moves on. Again, it looks like the storm is in the rear view, but we got a long road to go through the windshield here as we kind of pick up the pieces. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Stay safe.
Thanks, guys.
So there you heard that update from West Feliciana Parish Sheriff Brian Spielman. Right now, their top priority, responding to the calls of two families trapped in homes, still trying to figure out exactly what part of the parish that may be right now, but that is priority number one. We heard a family. One family, he said he spoke on the phone with. Yeah, they're dealing with water coming into their home because of a tree that fell. In the other situation, you've got a mother with children with that tree in their home as well. And again, their first priority is making sure those families are safe and they're out of harm's way, and then they will go down that list and answer those 911 calls.
But, you know, and when talking with the sheriff just there, it's something to hear, hey, how's the power situation? And then to hear the sheriff say, pretty much nothing. Pretty much the entire parish out of power right now. That's Entergy and DEMCO as well. So this is going to take a minute to get those linemen out there. We can't, again, have them out there when the wind is going crazy in a crazy situation. That looks to have passed, and now these linemen can actually get out there. This is that situation. So when you kind of hover over, we were just talking with the sheriff from West Feliciana, so if you kind of travel up there, one up right in there. That's Point Capique. Go one up, we'll go up.
The dark red,
the very dark
right
one.
there.
There you go. That's West Feliciana. Look at the number tracked and look at the number out. And so he's saying right now it's pretty much all out all over the place. So if you don't have to be out, to your point, Liz, don't go out. Let those crews manage. It's tough to travel with these trees everywhere. Make sure the crews have the ability to get where they need to be.
You know who is traveling? Folks from Central and Zachary
That's
and
amazing,
other law enforcement agencies trying to help them out here, because you said it, you've got deputies out there trying to respond to all these calls, but this is an all hands on deck situation where you've got law enforcement from other parishes and cities saying, hey, how can we help you? So again, clear the road so other agencies can make their way. Folks from Zachary answering that cavalry call to come in and help to make sure that those 911 calls are answered, and then eventually get those linemen in there to restore power in that parish.
It reminds me a bit, when you talk about like the cavalry coming in from other parts of South Louisiana, it reminds me a bit of the flood. And one of the spots that was not hit by the floods and made sure they were helping everybody else, West Baton Rouge, they became this lifeline for so many folks around. We were not hit as hard. Let us use our resources to help everybody else. It's kind of, look, that's going to happen all over the country. But Louisiana's gone through it so many times. I literally get goosebumps thinking about the help that rolls in from those who've gone through it. It's amazing. And to have these phone calls happen immediately. You still in the moment. Hey, so you know, I understand it's whipping right now. It's 70 miles an hour. We are ready to head your way. Those phone calls are already being made.
Proud to call this place home for that very reason. In fact, we're getting an update from all of our local agencies and parishes here to find out exactly what local sheriffs are seeing. But if you can help us, please go ahead and send in those photos and videos photos. 9reports.com. We're seeing some of them here. In fact, Jenny sending in this photo, an ominous photo of the Baton Rouge skyline from downtown Baton Rouge. Our Chris Rosado was there. Look at that
It's like a
line of
shelf.
clouds. Yes, that is just magnificent to see, and magnificent in this way that kind of takes over you. Like, I can't, it's not hurricane season, Matt,
Right.
but when
No,
you
not
look
yet.
at these
You're right.
pictures, it is remarkable to see just the effect that Mother Nature wrath through the Baton Rouge area. Then we
new
take
roads
you to
here?
New Roads, Pecan Avenue. We kind of dipped in and out there with Gabrielle and Brandon,
did,
where we
yeah.
saw some of those trees, and you can see there, looks kind of like a thin branch that appears to be falling, but it is a large tree at that.
Yeah, and so this is what we're obviously going to be worried about. And going back to Steve and Jared, what they were talking about, the fact that we had to deal with a drought for so many months,
Yeah.
like a record-setting drought, not just a little bit of, we're kind of under a little bit here and there, a record-setting drought, pretty much. And what kind of damage did that do to the trees, the health overall? And then you get something like this blowing through a few months after that, and these trees are weakened a bit. And so this kind of thing is going to happen. Hopefully it doesn't happen to the point where the trees impact much more than beyond just where they fell. But we're going to see a lot of these pictures, and as Jared gets ready kind of there to give you the very latest, to your point, the ability to be our eyes and ears as well through 9 Reports, the pictures and the video when it's safe to do so, help us tell the story.
Especially for our folks in the western part of the WAFB viewing area.
Yeah,
Look,
they're
we
starting.
cover a lot of land. So folks who are in the Hammond, the Tangi area, we're asking you to stay in your safe space with your family as we try to get through the flooding and the issues that are dealing with right now. But in the meantime, if you are in the area where the severe weather threat has passed through, please go ahead and send us what you can here so we have an idea
Some of this.
of what we're seeing. This is, again, Jefferson Terrace in the Baton Rouge area, Matt, when the bulk of that rain moved through. And so we want to check on the latest happening in the Baton Rouge area to find out exactly the latest. I believe we're checking in with Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome at this hour.
Hi, hey, good morning. This is Matt and Liz over at WAFB. We just got thrown a phone and weren't kind of told who we on with right here.
This is Mayor St. Francis.
Look,
There we go.
This would be a
Thank
good one to
you,
talk
sir.
to. Look, thank you so much for being with us this morning. This is St. Francisville was one of the spots very early this morning. Steve and Jared, our meteorologists, were quick to point out this is going to be a spot that's taken a brunt of this. As you kind of get beyond the line of storms, what are you seeing in St. Francisville right now?
Well, we just had a break in the weather and
Yeah.
had a chance to ride all through town and assess the damage. And as you can imagine, a lot of trees down, a lot of power lines. So the weather's still, not great. So we're holding the guys in, and as soon as we get a break, we'll be out there to clean the roads. But we do have quite a few power lines and quite a few trees down.
And Mayor, we spoke with the Sheriff Brian Spillman, who was saying that they're responding to 2 calls of families with trees in their homes. Is that in the St. Francisville area by any chance?
Like I said, I just had a quick few minutes to ride and assess, the damage. We didn't see, not sure if that's in the town limits. We haven't had those calls to the town hall, but as far as the roads and things like that, that's kind of what we've had a chance to look at so far.
All right, the mayor of St. Francisville, Robert Leake, with us this morning. This is something, hopefully, that folks had enough warning. Look, we've been talking about this since Friday, right, Mr. Mayor? And hopefully the warning truly helped limit a lot of potentially horrible damage, certainly damage to people.
Well, I think so, but I would hope that the little time that I've been out to assess the damage, we've got quite a few sightseers,
Really?
riding,
Yeah.
kind of getting in place. So please advise those, if they do not need to be on the road, to stay off the road. Emergency personnel's out there trying to clear the power lines, and they're just basically getting in the way
Getting
at
in
this
the way.
point.
You're right.
Hearing the same call here from St. Francisville Mayor Robert Leake. Sir, we would love to check in with you throughout the morning here, the rest of the morning and the day, to see what you need there and how we can help you out and what kind of message we can share with our viewers.
Appreciate it.
Thank you,
y'all
sir.
have a good morning.
You too.
Bye.
Stay safe. And just so you know, our Chris Rosado actually headed up towards the St. Francisville area right now because, to your point, we talked with the sheriff out there as well. The focus right now on making sure they're able to get to a couple of phone calls, families, trees on houses, potentially trapped. That's going to be the focus for them. Again, our Chris Rosado headed up there. But he's talking about the damage is going to be there.
Yes.
Right now, in the next 30 minutes or the next 2 hours, the damage is going to be there. Give it some time. Let these emergency crews do what they need to do. He's already talking about it. You got some folks in the way of progress here.
So please stay inside. Let the first responders handle that, assess that damage here. Even if it's on your property, you don't need to get out just yet. Because again, our viewing area, we're still watching a lot. In fact, the western part of our viewing area, well, the threat has largely moved through. But Jared, as you've been tracking, we're still following some things in the eastern part of our area.
Thank you so much for that, Liz and Matt. Appreciate that. You are looking at a couple of different LSRs, local storm reports, and this one actually came out a little while back from St. Landry Parish. Of course, this is outside of our viewing area here. This is in between places like Karen Crow, Church Point, up to Grand Coteau, and they even reported possible tornado. They'll have to go back and look at that. This whole entire scenario kind of segued from tornado warning after tornado warning to then straight line winds. And usually when the National Weather Service does go out and they survey areas like this, it usually is fairly obvious what the difference is. If it's straight line winds, everything will be blown down usually in the same direction. If you have multiple trees down, they'll all be blown down in the same orientation. If you have something like a tornado with rotation, that's when you tend to see your cars kind of flipped over, your big buses that get flipped over as well. Another storm report, this is over at Point Capee. This is from their AWAS station. This happened about an hour earlier. They had wind gusts between 60 and 65 miles per hour. That was measured by their station. Of course, that not only knocked out power, but knocked down trees. East Baton Rouge, more trees down. Tree down at North 19th and Main. That was at 8:32. It doesn't say the wind speed when that happened, but I can guarantee it was somewhere around in the neighborhood of 60 miles per hour. One more out to the east over in Livingston. This is a report from trees down and shingles blown off of roofs at 9:02 a.m. And again, that was over in Livingston. Of course, it took a little bit longer for the line to get over there. Here's what's left on our radar right now. We still have that green polygon right over the Baton Rouge area, indicating that we still have that flood warning that's in effect. Meanwhile, you see a lot of red on your screen, indicating not only the areas of heavy rain, but also where we have lightning and areas where we have very strong winds. But we don't see any more tornado warnings actively right now. So it looks like that warning, or at least that threat for the time being, looks like it is gone. So that's good news. Up and down the I-55 corridor, they're beginning to clear things out. Now the entire focal point shifts to places in between Mandeville, Slidell, up to Bogalusa, that little stripe of coloration, the green in between the red on the Doppler velocity. That's a good indicator that there are very strong winds over there. Here's the hail tracker. It had a lot of hail around the St. Francisville area, back to Melville, down to Livonia. Now that's all moved in between Centerville up to Macomb. Anywhere we see that kind of cloudy area, that indicates that there are hail sizes generally less than 1 inch diameter. So hopefully when the smoke clears from all of this, whatever damage we do encounter, for the most part, it shouldn't be due to hail, but I am expecting a few damaging hail reports, at least between here back on over to the Lafayette area when everything is all said and done. Look at that big bow echo. There's what's left of it now, that stripe in red, Franklinton over to Bogalusa, and then eventually completely out of our view altogether. Down to the south of Baton Rouge, though, I don't want to say that we're completely all clear, although there's nothing tornadic down here. From Plaquemine, the White Castle, Pier part, down over to New Iberia, still down to the southwest of Baton Rouge. Still have a couple of those red echoes, but we're not seeing any of the purples. We're not seeing any of the whites. That's good news. That means we're no longer seeing any of that hail. In and around Baton Rouge, the area in yellow, still we've got some showers over here, but that's nothing severe. Let's zoom out. We give you the big picture, well-defined counterclockwise circulation. That's going to move everything along, and you can see the lightning tracker is now moving everything towards the New Orleans area, so New Orleans is going to be under the gun for the next hour or so. And there are still a few areas of wraparound precipitation back on over to the west, so we're still going to have those lingering showers. What about the tornado potential from here on out? After 11 in the morning, you see that threat obviously is well away from Baton Rouge, but becomes a little bit closer in and around the New Orleans area, so they're going to have to keep a very watchful eye on that. In the meantime, though, we'll send it back to the desk. We'll send it back to Matt and Liz.
All right, Jared, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. So we're giving you a look right now. This is obviously our Sky 9 camera network pointing over there at the Children's Hospital, and you can still see some rain kind of coming down here, but it's 9:50 right now, and so light rain in Baton Rouge. That was not the case, say, about 8:30 this morning.
Let's take you back to where Chris Rosado was there at the Bella Baton Rouge for a look and listen.
can't see. And I mean, you can't even see probably like 100 yards past where I am right now. I can't see any of the buildings in downtown. I can barely see the Mississippi River Bridge. But I mean, the winds are really kicking up right now. You can really get a sense of what they were talking about heeding those strong wind warnings, making sure you're not near any windows or anything like that.
So that was Chris Rosado reporting there at the Bella Baton Rouge. That was 8:30 this morning in Baton Rouge. Matt, do you remember how quickly that picture changed while we watched downtown Baton Rouge?
It was crazy.
Yeah.
But to Stephen Jarrett's point, this thing was moving so quickly. The storm itself, not just the dynamics of the cells in between, the storm itself, this line was moving so fast. At one point, Liz, you remember that Steve called up that radar. Now he said he had winds at about 2,000-3,000 feet at 90 miles an hour. Whew. Right now, again, that is well above ground level as the radar kind of begins from its point of origin. It travels up a little bit as it gets further away. He was saying it was about 3,000 feet high, but still 90 miles an hour. That helped tell the story of what we're going to be dealing with at ground level. And that, from Chris Rosado, showed you exactly what it was. Up there at the Belle of Baton Rouge Casino, right? The parking garage, staring across the river into West Baton Rouge as this wall came at him, and you saw, obviously, him. I mean, look, Chris Rosado's a sturdy guy, leaning into this and kind of winning and losing the battle a little bit there.
So we tell you that to show you how quickly that weather picture changed. And right behind us here, we actually show you a live picture here of the Our Lady Lake Children's Hospital at this hour here at 9:50, where that weather picture has largely changed.
It's changed a lot,
yes.
Right? So now the weather's gone through. Now it's what it's left behind. And in a lot of places, it's going to be something like this. Go ahead and have a look here. You said we had that video? There you go. Well, that's obviously a dark look at. Look, hopefully the power outage is not quite that bad.
Right.
But it is now going to be the pickup, the cleanup after everything left behind, from trees down to power poles down and power lines down. We've already started to see from our Gabby Mercurio out in Point Capee and New Roads. You've already got crews out there because the storm has passed. You've already got crews out there beginning to stand up some of these lines that may have been tilted a little bit, get the lines back to go. But that will be the story going east now into Baton Rouge, into places like Ascension, Livingston, if need be as well. That's going to be the story, the cleanup and the recovery.
As for our story and what we're following here, well, Chris Rosado, yeah, he was in downtown Baton Rouge, but he's making his way up north there to West Feliciana Parish, where he is hearing that the two families we were talking about with Sheriff Brian Spillman, well, he was hearing that those families, that's actually north of St. Francisville. So as the mayor there, Robert Lee, gets an assessment of exactly what the situation is, our Chris Rosado is trying to get a live picture to you of what they're seeing there. But how does that traffic, how does the route look up that way? Well, let's check now in with Johnny Asian to see how our drive is looking this morning. Johnny, hopefully not many people out there.
No, I think everybody kind of heeded the warning. We do have some street flooding, some of the areas that tend to carry water on the side of the road, not the least of which one of them is going to be on Scenic Highway, taking up to the North Baton Rouge area. A little stretch of Scenic Highway between 68th and 74th Street, temporarily closed in both directions because of high water in that area. So we will keep an eye on that through the course of the day. That will be short-lived, hopefully. Now, this is kind of repositioning the shot. This is out in Gonzales. Still getting some rain in Ascension Parish this morning. That's Highway 30 beneath the interstate, Tanger Mall over here. So we're not out of the woods in our area just yet. And if you're coming from the North Shore down toward LaPlace, this is I-55 right around Manchac Tower, and that's going to be near Middendorf's. And you can definitely see some slower traffic, very light traffic there, but definitely some visibility issues there. Meanwhile, here in the immediate Baton Rouge area, as you can see, it has gotten a little bit better. So you heeded the warning, and we got you through it right here on 9 News this morning, but we're not quite through it yet for people that are watching us in some of these outer areas. So please stay with us here on WAFB and on WAFB's apps. The weather app is very, very valuable. Download it today. Guys,
it's a good tool.